The Biden administration, with their final send-off, allowing the U.S. to arm Ukraine to launch missiles into Russia, saying goodbye, bon voyage, enjoy your World War III. The story comes from the New York Times. Who knows if Biden is really in charge or if he even knows what's happening, because he was out over the weekend disappearing into the Amazon rainforest. He was giving an announcement saying he's the first sitting president to visit the Amazon, then announcing a proclamation to support the conservation of nature around the world, right as he authorizes Ukraine to launch ATACMS into the regions of Russia that are in conflict. And I think that's how you say it. ATACMS, we're going to continue to experiment with that word and have fun with it today. But you can see, here's what Joe Biden said in the Amazon rainforest.
Thanks for all being here.
He looks like he just was on Gilligan's Island, doesn't he?
Chico Mendes, a Brazilian rubber tapper, who turned environmental activist, said the following, and I quote,
What?
"At first I thought I was fighting to save rubber trees. Then I thought I was fighting to save the Amazon rainforest.
Thank you.
Now I realize I was fighting for humanity. At the time, I was a United States Senator, working with a great Republican senator named Dick Lugar from Indiana."
All right, so there's Biden in the Amazon. Now, you fast forward through that. He's given us a little story about Dick Lugar in whatever, and then he just disappears. He's going into the rainforest to save Fern Gully. So long, Joe. Perfectly placed head right there. Joe just disappears into the Amazon. All right, that's it. Now, we don't really know where he went or if he's coming back to the White House. Nobody really knows. But with 2 months left, ATACMS is how you say it. Thank you for the correction. ATACMS in the house are being launched into Russia's house. And Joe Biden just made the change as Trump comes into power. Says he's now authorized the first use of U.S. supplied long-range missiles by Ukraine for strikes inside Russia. The weapons are likely to be initially employed against Russia and North Korean troops, of which there are about 10,000 of them, I just learned. The Mr. Biden decision is a major change in U.S. policy. Isn't that fun? He lost the election. Trump's coming in. So they're going to make major changes while he's a lame duck in these last 2 months. The choice has divided his advisors, and the shift comes 2 months before Trump takes office. Now, allowing Ukrainians to use the long-range missiles known as the Army Tactical Missile Systems, or ATACMS, which is a perfect acronym for a missile, came in response to Russia's surprise decision to bring North Korean troops into the fight. Zelensky did not confirm permission to strike, but suggested on Sunday that more important than lifting the restriction should be the number of missiles used. He said, today, many in the media are talking about the fact that we've received permission to take appropriate actions. But blows are not inflicted with words. Such things are not announced. The rockets will speak for themselves. And so they're getting ready to really escalate this. They're not happy about it in Moscow. You see this report from The Independent says that there is fury in Moscow now after Biden allows Kyiv to use their long-range missiles. Not ideal when you're trying to stop a war, to escalate the war. But Washington is now throwing oil on the fire, the Kremlin said. Idiots. Condemning Biden's decisions, spokesperson Dmitry Peskov reiterated earlier warnings from Vladimir, saying any strikes on Russian soil using U.S. weapons would be interpreted as direct NATO involvement. Gosh. Yeah, sure. No, it's fine. Joe Biden's like, I got Amazon work to do. Going on an ayahuasca journey. Might be good for him. In response to a question from TASS at his regular press briefing, Mr. Peskov said Russia was only aware of the apparent decision by reporting in Western media. He accused the U.S. of fanning the flames, and speaking on Monday, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un did not reference Biden's decisions, but did denounce Western involvement, saying we got a World War III possibility. The U.S. authorization came as Keir Starmer from the EU urged doubling down on support for Ukraine, putting it high on the agenda for the G20 summit, which is coming up soon. Here's a report from the BBC, along with Zelensky's speech.
Joe Biden has authorized Ukraine to use American long-range missiles to strike targets deep inside Russia.
Until now, Mr. Biden has been reluctant to give permission because of concerns about the conflict escalating. Our correspondent David Willis reports now from Washington.
Yeah, but now it's not his problem.
The aftermath of the latest missile attack on Ukraine.
He could just launch missiles
Russia's
and then
largest
it's
in
Trump's
months.
problem.
This, the city of Sumy, near the Russian border, after a missile hit a residential area, killing 10 people and injuring many more. As President Biden arrived in Rio for the G20 summit, reports emerged of new US measures to help Ukraine defend itself. Authorization from the outgoing leader for the use of long-range, American-made guided missiles capable of striking deep into Russian territory. Potentially a significant development in the conflict, and one President Zelensky has been calling for months.
Today, many in the media say that we have received permission to take appropriate actions. But strikes are not made with words. Such things are not announced. The missiles will speak for themselves, definitely.
President Biden's decision followed the arrival last month of around 10,000 North Korean special forces sent to help Russia reclaim territory lost to Ukraine in the Kursk region of eastern Russia. Known as ATACMS, these U.S. Army tactical missile systems have a range of almost 200 miles and are difficult to intercept because they travel at such high speeds. President Biden is keen to do all he can to help Ukraine in the little time he has left in office. He'd resisted authorizing the use of American long-range missiles up to now for fear of antagonizing Russia. But with winter approaching and Russia advancing, retaining territory taken in the east could provide Ukraine with a bargaining chip in the event of future peace talks. David Willis, BBC News, Washington.
Great. All right, so that's perfect. So it was too risky to do that before, but now it's perfectly okay to do that because Joe Biden can take a big dump on the world stage and somebody else will clean it up, just like he's been doing for the last 4 years. Shank over here said, what the F is Biden doing? Authorizing Ukraine to use U.S. missiles inside Russia? Which side of the political spectrum is this on? The right hates it, obviously. The left hates it. Only establishment Democrats and Republicans who are all neocons serving the donor class like this. I don't know. There's a bunch of lefties down here. I live downtown. There's a bunch of lefties down here. And all the Harry Wall signs out there, a lot of them have the Ukraine signs on there too. And I'm pretty sure they're not all Ukrainians for whatever reason. They just bought into the propaganda. But here's another one. This is a Senator-elect Slotkin. She came out. They're very upset about the military clearing out DEI. They'd much rather the DEI crew stay in while they push for nuclear war rather than have peace with, I guess, less DEI in the military. So here's this debate.
Hegseth has also said that any general that was involved in any of the DEI woke crap has got to go.
Yes.
Do you expect Donald Trump to fire top generals who he considers woke? Or those close to former chairman Mark Milley?
I don't think you have to interpret. Yeah, I don't think you have to interpret anything. I think they've been very clear
that
they're putting together some sort of panel that's going to look at generals, people who have served their nation their entire lives over multiple administrations, Democrat and Republican, in combat. They are now openly talking about dismissing them like some sort of kangaroo court.
No, your current DOJ has been a kangaroo court. And actually, the military has become a kangaroo court in many aspects, according to people like Pete Hegseth, who say that the military never used to exist this way, right? She'll sit here, they were like this for 40 years. Really? Did they have 40 years of DEI in the military or no? Was that a new phenomenon and a new fad passed by the most recent Democrat insanity? Yeah, that was new. So how about it to return to norm? And the people who made bad judgments and bad decisions and decided, like Mark Milley, like his whole life had now become about white rage or whatever that was, remember? I think about white rage all the time. I wake up thinking about white rage. I'm white rage right now. I had a white rage earlier today. I might have a white rage later too. And he went on that whole speech. That's bad judgment, bad decision. You've undermined, according to other military experts like Pete Hegseth, the fighting capability and readiness of the force. So therefore, your judgment was bad. You've set our military back. Now we have to undo all this crap. And now you have to go as a result of that. That's cause and effect. Welcome.
You can imagine the stress in the Pentagon about that, but also on the future of who we are as a military, right? Our military and the role of the military is in the Constitution for a reason. And I think we're really at risk of politicizing the military in a way that we can't put the genie back in the bottle.
That's what you guys tried to do with the DEI. You were the ones who perverted it.
issues with recruiting of late, and Hegseth talks about that.
Sure. There's issues with recruiting. I think you talk to any business leader, there's issues with recruiting as well. There's just a high demand signal, but I don't think that
What? Because people need employees? The military is short?
Showing that you can be summarily fired in this system is a way to increase recruiting. And I will just take note that
he said it would attract normal males if we.
His idea of normal may be different.
It's way different than yours. That's for sure.
Right now, the military is one of the most diverse institutions in the world. So the officer corps should reflect that diversity. And that's just not me saying
that's
it.
not
That's the Supreme Court of the
useful.
United States. When they went after diversity issues at our campuses, they excluded our service academies, West Point, the Naval Academy, because they understood that a diverse workforce, a diverse officer corps is a national security issue in the United States.
Okay. I'm still waiting for evidence of that. They keep telling us diversity is like our strength and all that stuff. Like we're more powerful if we're more diverse. It's not really. If you have a football team of people whose goal it is to move balls into an end zone, you want very fast, very strong people. Doesn't matter what shape, what color they come in. That's who you want. Because there's a physical end game in place. And I'm not saying the battlefield is analogous to this or it's to a game, but there's still an objective there. So we talk about the readiness, indicia, and characteristics of any organization, and we have to consider what contributes to that or not. And Mark Milley's white rage, I still have not seen how that is helpful to our readiness. But maybe we'll see. Now, MAGA Resource posted this over on X, and here was another exchange which was very interesting. This came from Jon Stewart and this woman who is named Democrat. She's Deputy Defense Secretary called Kathleen Hicks, and she's getting interviewed about this new $1 trillion audit failure from the DOJ. They can never, DOD, Department of Defense rather, can never account for their money. Pentagon, billions of dollars is gone. Trillions over the years. And if you just ask questions about it, she laughs in your face and just thinks that she can mock you like you're an idiot. And how dare you even question them? Now, Jon Stewart is having to have a realization on this because this is how they treat everybody about everything. You ask about the CDC, they think that you're anti-science. You ask about the dollar, they say you're an idiot, you don't know anything about economics. You ask about the border, you say the market needs it and the border's safe, so on and so forth. Here's John now getting a dose of this from the DOD people.
To be doing, like, there is a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse within a system.
Audits and waste, fraud, and abuse are not the same thing. So let's decompose these
Please
pieces
educate me on
Sure.
What
so an audit
the
is exactly what you just described,
Yes.
which is, do I know what was delivered to which place?
Right.
The ability to pass an audit or the fact that the DOD has not passed an audit is not suggestive of waste, fraud, and abuse. That is completely false right there. Now it's a question of, it's suggestive that we don't have an accurate inventory that we can pull up of what we have where. That is not the same as saying we can't do that because waste, fraud, and abuse has occurred.
In my world,
Yeah.
that's waste.
How is that waste?
If I give you $1 billion and you can't tell me what happened to it, that to me is wasteful. That means you are not responsible. But if you can't tell me where it went, then what am I supposed to think? And when there has been reporting, this is not, look, I'm not saying this is on you and that you
She's
caused
seeing
this,
it personally.
but I think it's a tough argument to
I'm pretty
make
sure I
that
didn't cause it.
an $850 billion budget
team did,
to
lady.
an organization that can't pass an audit and tell you where that money went, I think most people would consider that somewhere in the realm of waste, fraud, or abuse, because they would wonder why that money isn't well accounted for. And especially when they see food insecurity on military bases, and they see...
You want to talk about that? Because that's a good... we should be talking...
Well,
I'm trying to understand where you're trying to go, other than
I
the
don't want to
dollars,
talk about
which
it.
really bother you.
I think it doesn't really bother me. I think it's all connected.
Okay.
I think
tell
when
me,
I
tell
look...
me that story. Tell me how you're thinking
Well,
about that.
when I see...
Totally in panic, this woman wants to talk about anything else. Let's talk about food insecurity on the bases. Let's talk about, tell me your story. Tell me what you think about. I'll just answer anything except the fact that we've got $1 trillion we can't account for.
A State Department get a certain amount of money and a military budget be 10 times that, and I see a struggle within government to get people like more basic services, and then that department that got that, we got out of 20 years of war and the Pentagon got a $50 billion raise. Like, that's shocking to me. Now, I may not understand exactly the ins and outs and the incredible magic of an audit, but I'm a human being who lives on the earth and can't figure out how $850 billion to a department means that the rank and file still have to be on food stamps. Like, to me, that's fucking corruption.
Whoa,
if that blows your mind,
but he's right.
And if you think that's like a crazy agenda for me to have, I really think that's institutional thinking, and that it's not looking at the day-to-day reality of the people that you call the greatest fighting force in the world. So I get back to this idea of, I'm not looking to pick a fight with you, but I am surprised at that the reaction to these questions are, you don't know what an audit is, bucko. That's just weird to me.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. Shout out to Jon Stewart on that, because that was a talking to that is for the ages. And she was just in pain the entire time. One of the most uncomfortable things I think you've seen from a DOD official, because she knows the money is gone. It is wasted. It is fraud. It is abused. What else do you call it? It's not a good investment. If you go to the grocery store, you spend $100 on your food and $40 go missing, you ask a question about that. What was that, if not waste, fraud, and abuse? I don't know where my $40 went. Now, here's your change. I'm missing $40. I'm missing $80. Where'd it go? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It went to services. No, it didn't. It's theft. Now, Jon Stewart is onto this, man. And if he just takes this same epiphany that he has about the DOD, if he just takes that same model, he nailed it. And he just applies it to everything else. Customs and Border, Health and Human Services. If he takes that over to education or to the CDC, any one of them, okay, they're all doing the same thing. The DOD is just killing a lot of people intentionally with military and endless wars, and they have a very interesting grift. They keep giving Zelensky billions of dollars, but we've got Americans here who are struggling. And I would much rather our money come back to the United States. We should have a rich country with a nice liberty benefit. We have free speech, free markets. We've got so much wealth and resource. We live in a cherished land. We should have a benefit for being Americans. We pay a lot in taxes. We should have a benefit. We shouldn't have inflation, crime, and our pride and joy be Dollar Tree stores on the corners. Okay, we should have and demand much more. Trillions of dollars being stolen from us, from these people who then mock and laugh at us, is criminal. It's criminal. They're all involved in it. If you did this at a corporation, you just had $1 billion disappear off your books, you go to jail for that. But none of them do.